Hello Internet, Dominic here, and with the recent release of the first full trailer for the upcoming adaptation of Masamune Shirow's seminal manga masterpiece Ghost in the Shell, I decided what better time to examine the philosophy of the franchise and what it is that makes that philosophy so compelling and resonant given our current technological and socio-political climate. Ghost in the Shell is set in a fictional Japanese city called Nihama, also known as Newport City, and takes place in the mid-21st century. It chronicles the missions of a special operations task force known as Public Security Section 9 that consists of former military and police detectives and deals primarily in high-tech counter-terrorism. Now, although Ghost in the Shell is set in the near future, it's a future where technology has advanced drastically from what we are familiar with today. Often characterized as post-cyberpunk, it's a future in which technology has come so far that most people have a prosthesis known as a cyberbrain that allows them to interface with a neural internet through simple thoughts, and human beings whose bodies are for all intents and purposes entirely artificial are indistinguishable from the rest of us. One such human being is our protagonist, Major Motoko Kusanagi, and thus is born the crux of the philosophy that permeates the entire Ghost in the Shell series, as it examines the nature of the self and the cost of our steady march towards transhumanism. The ghost in Ghost in the Shell refers to the constant as it pertains to one's identity or humanity. Basically, the ghost is a person's consciousness, or soul for the romantic among you. It's the thing that no matter how much of our biological makeup is exorcised or replaced, makes us human and differentiates us from common artificial intelligence. However, Masamune Shirow goes one step further in his characterization of the ghost, defining it as a physical trait, a phenomenon that arises in a system once it has reached a certain level of complexity. Now, Ghost in the Shell has an increasingly complex set of rules that are inherent to its fiction. There are rules concerning the transfer of a ghost to other shells, rules that suggest that the two cannot survive in isolation without high risk of degradation, and many other variables that are all tied into the science fiction. And while it would be great to really get into the minutiae that makes up this world, it would also take way too long. And so what I want to look at is the much broader question that this series explores. What is it that makes us who we are? Theseus's paradox is a thought experiment recorded by the ancient Greek biographer and essayist Plutarch about a ship that sails from Crete. Now, on its many travels, as the old planks of wood decay, new and stronger timber is added in place until eventually every single part of the ship is replaced with a new piece that performs the same function. Is this ship still the same ship that set sail on its maiden voyage? You may say no, of course not, as the ship has changed so much, but then so have you. Are you the same person you were 5 or 10 years ago? You certainly aren't the same person you were when you were born or when you were an infant. Most of the cells in your bodies have been replaced and are in fact in a constant state of flux. Your brain cells are not replaced after they die, so you may say this is what makes you who you are. But then what if you suffer an accident that dramatically alters your personality? Is that still you in there, or are you now somebody else entirely? In Ghost in the Shell, the ghost is used as the constant that makes us who we are, but what if that ghost is open to outside manipulation, the deletion and creation of memories? What if that ghost is duplicated and recreated in shells identical to the original? Who's to say that such an act would merit the status of an original at all? Ghost in the Shell derives its title from a 1967 essay on structuralism by author and journalist Arthur Koestler called The Ghost in the Machine, which itself derives from a quote by English philosopher Gilbert Ryle used to mock the paradox of substance dualism. Substance dualism suggests that the mind and soul are interchangeable and immortal and capable of existing independent of the body. Although theologically compatible, Ryle, Koestler, and of course Masamune Shirow reject this notion and posit that the ghost is physical and it and the shell are inextricably linked. The ghost is the shell and vice versa. We are our minds and our bodies, not either or, and these things are ever changing and in a constant state of entropy. In the 1995 movie, our protagonist, the Major, agrees to merge her own ghost with that of an advanced artificial intelligence known as the Puppet Master. Although she is at first reluctant to do so, fearing she will lose her individuality, she eventually agrees after being reminded of the Buddhist doctrine of impermanence. Impermanence asserts that all temporal things, either material or mental, are in a continuous state of flux and subject to decay and death, that there is no essence, permanent self or undying soul, and that because no physical or mental object is perpetual, desire for that or attachment to such an idea will lead to nothing but suffering. The question of what makes us who we are is one as old as time, and obviously it can't be answered here. But what Ghost in the Shell does so expertly is discuss and explore the reason why that question will always be important and should always be considered. Thank you.